Hi YouTube! Welcome to my video on Mars in Partner's 8th house, a synastry overlay video. This is actually a I was recommended to film this video by one of my followers that follows me on Twitter and Instagram. So if you guys want to request a video, it's easier if you guys follow me on Instagram and then send me a DM because I can comb through them more easily than I can through the comments. So if that's something that you're interested in doing and reaching out to me, definitely check out my social medias and send me a message if you want a question answered. Remember, I don't do chart readings, and I just do specific questions regarding a birth chart, like a certain aspect. And if you have any video requests, you can send those to me. So let's talk about Mars in the 8th house. So Mars is the planet of war. It's about aggression. It's about how you go about things, how you assert yourself. But it's also your sex drive and your sexual nature and how you go after someone that you want, or kind of how you flirt in a sense. And it does have to do with sex and what you're into and what you like with intimacy and all of that. If you prefer closeness, if you prefer something that's more fun, and that all indicates on what sign it is. So you definitely check that out. Now the 8th house is traditionally ruled by Scorpio, and this is the house of it's of uncovered things. It's about mysticism. It's about the unknown. It's secrets that we repress. It also has to do with inheritances after marriage, etc., etc., travel after marriage. But let's just keep it to this aspect in general. So when your partner's Mars falls into your 8th house or vice versa, the planet of sex and aggression and lust and all of that is falling into someone's house of hidden and uncovered things that they repress. So when that happens, there's going to be an automatic sexual tension, and the themes of this relationship are going to be very sexual, very intense. They're going to want to know more about each other in every sense of the word, and every sense of the statement, you know what I mean? There can be jealousy, passion, anger, and I'm going to discuss how all of these things play out. But there's also a huge sense of loyalty to each other. So this aspect works well when you have maybe some moon synastry, something that indicates emotional attraction and emotional understanding, because this is more about sexual intimacy and exploring each other's sexual nature in a sense, and igniting those feelings of passion and anger. But if you don't have anything with your partner that indicates an emotional connection, or maybe some things with Saturn, connection with Saturn, because Saturn will give longevity to your relationship even if there's turmoil. So if you don't have aspects like that, this could just be an intense sexual fling, someone that you have an affair with, things like that. A lot of the times these relationships could be prohibited, you shouldn't do it, it's wrong, all of that. There's something very lustful, unobtainable, wanting to know more, almost dangerous, secretive, something that, because the intimacy and the intensity is really personalized to each individual in that relationship. So a lot of times they can bring up things in the other person that is a little bit shameful. So there can be some secrecy to this relationship, almost as if they don't want everyone to know. But it might not be so secretive as it would if it was in the 12th house. This is more a lot of people can tell that these two do have a magnetic pull. There is a magnetic pull to each other. Now here you're going to find when Mars falls into the 8th house, there is an obsession with intimacy. This Mars person is igniting all of the things in the 8th house of the 8th house person. It's igniting that sex drive. It's igniting those secret desires and all of that. So when that happens, the house person is going to feel really comfortable with the Mars person sexually. You know what I mean? So the house person is going to only want to do things with the Mars person because they're going to feel a really close, deep bond, because a lot of times there's a huge understanding of each other. So there's not a lot of judgment. So because there's not a lot of judgment and there's that bond for close intimacy, they're going to crave each other. They're not really going to want other people. That's where the sense of loyalty comes into. Now let's talk about the sense of anger. Now, anger is probably going to be ignited when these two become codependent on each other. The codependency is going to lead to putting each other's needs before their self. So it's like, if you're the Mars person and I'm the house person, I'm going to put your needs before mine. And if you don't do that, or if I give you everything and then I realize that I haven't been receiving anything or I haven't been doing anything for myself, that's going to cause anger and resentment towards the other person. It's usually when there's a lack of effort or a lack of understanding, or when these two try to keep a secret from each other, anger will arise because, in a sense, they can tell when each other's hiding stuff from each other. So the Mars person is the active planet, and then the house person is the receptive planet, the receptive placement of this aspect. So what this means is that Mars, because Mars is the planet of assertion, how you assert yourself, the Mars person is going to probably be the one that takes notice of the house person first. And because of this, the house person's probably going to feel a little bit more adored. The Mars person is going to be giving those intense vibes, and the house person's going to receive them. So the house person sends it, the Mars person sends it, and the house person receives it. And then doesn't mean that either of them, it really just depends on each other's personal things, because you have to take into consideration that you can have intense aspects with someone, but if you have your Mars in Pisces and the other person has their Mars in Sagittarius or in Aries, and then you have your Venus in Taurus and the other person has their Venus in Gemini, you have to take into consideration the signs, because that will tell you a lot more. When the signs are more compatible, this aspect has more longevity to it, and you guys can actually understand each other better and get along with each other better. Because if one person has clingy signs like a water or an earth, and the other person has a fire and an air Mars or Venus, that's also a factor of not being able to get along well, because you guys go about relationships and sex a lot differently. So that's when the negative themes of the relationship arise, when there's not a lot of initial compatibility before the aspect. So always take into consideration about the thing. So because the house person, moving on, so because the Mars person seeks out the house person is going to feel idolized, and they are going to put Mars on a pedestal. So you'll see a lot of sacrificial actions done by the house person, and the house person is also able to put on a front. A lot of the times, a lot of the feelings that the house person feels towards the Mars person are going to be more internal, whereas the Mars person might be a little bit external. Therefore, the house person is going to be able to sense the Mars person's adoration, and when the Mars person doesn't do that, the house person is going to be able to pick it up. Whereas if you're the Mars person, reading the house person's feelings are going to be, it's going to be a little bit harder, because this is something that they might internalize. And because of this, the house person is more prone to being obsessive and stalkery. It doesn't mean that the Mars person doesn't feel the same way. They just go about it differently because they express their feelings differently, if you know what I mean. Okay, so also with this aspect, you're going to see that you guys are going to try a lot of things differently. A lot of new things. There we go. You're going to try a lot of new things together. And the Mars person is really going to ignite this passion in the house person that pushes the house person to do a lot of new things. The Mars person is going to ignite new understandings and deeper understandings of self and sex and the world and what they truly desire. The Mars person's probably going to be the igniter in a lot of things, and the house person is going to be more of a free spirit, and not like a free spirit, but they'll go along with the Mars person, because the Mars person takes action. That's what this does. It's important to realize that this relationship can become really emotionally invested. You can become very emotionally invested in this relationship. So be mindful of each other's boundaries and of each other's space and time. Because when these things get obsessive, there's a lot of tendencies to always want to be around them, always badger them, always stalk them, always want to be with them, and always want to know what they're doing, all of this. So just be careful, because this is the house also of like finances, like things that you inherit and stuff. So be careful who you're getting involved with, because there might be some shady action, because you won't be able to see everything really, really clearly when things happen with the 8th house and another person's planets. You won't probably be able to see them very clearly. You'll look way too deep into the relationship. You'll pull apart things, and you'll miss the general idea or the general personality of the person. So be very mindful that they're not stealing anything from you. Okay, just a heads up. This is a very intense dark energy. When this Mars falls into the 8th house, this Mars person is going to be in almost this energy that's very dark, very mysterious, and the Mars person is actually going to embody this intense energy. So you might notice, well, the Mars person might notice that they're a completely different person when they're around the house person, and it's almost kind of, they enjoy exploring the realms of the house person. They really do. And the house person is receptive, and they allow the Mars person to come in and see all of those things with time and trust and all of that stuff. Of course, you got to take in all the factors. They allow the Mars person to come in and see all of the dark realms and all of the things. They might have similar interest in occult studies or magic or astrology or anything that's a little bit taboo, or they might have general interests aside from all that. So you're going to see that there's receptive energy between both of them, and the house person is going to be very open with the Mars person in ways that they're not open with other people. So keep that in mind. Like, even though it may seem like the Mars is the person that's feeling all these things and doing all these things and initiating it, and the house is just following along, the house does feel deeply, but they're just able to hide it a little bit better. And if you're the Mars person, you have a lot of power over this house person. And if you're the house person, you already know you have power over the Mars person, so I don't even need to say it. This can be a karmic relationship, because when it gets negative, and if there's not a lot of factors of compatibility naturally as for who you are as a person and who they are as a person, like, you know, like astrology can tell you about compatibility, but if you guys don't have any similar interests, or like are completely two different personalities, like, it's just not gonna work. Like, astrology is just only like, it's just like a little explanation of what can happen and what's there and what are the themes of the relationship. It's not so much if you guys are going to get married and all that, because this can be a very traumatic relationship, because they can go through a lot of stuff together, they can fight, they're going to uncover all the sides of the person's sexual nature and how they are naturally. It's not so much going to be necessarily emotional. It may feel emotional, but keep in mind that it's probably not. It's probably things that you are making up, and you're letting the sex drive and all of that equate your feelings. You know, it's like a lot of lust, not a lot of love. There can be love, but just this aspect, it's more lust than love. Whether you have love in your relationship, it's up to you. I don't know. So it can be karmic. But if it's karmic, and you're going to realize that you're going to be extremely transformed by the time the relationship or the fling or the affair is over, something's going to go down, something's going to change. You're not going to be the same person, and they're not going to be the same person. You're going to learn a lot of lessons from each other. That's what makes it karmic. And it's going to force you to change your views on certain things. And just keep in mind that this aspect will bring out the shadow sides of each other. So be very accepting of each other and welcoming if you guys want to reach a deeper level of intimacy and all of that stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, if you want to contact me, reach out on social media. It's easier for me to see what you're saying that way, because comments can get lost in other comments. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know what you guys think. Bye.